people see profit first and they think it's too simple to be true. Like, how could something so easy by just carving up money at a bank account and moving to different accounts, sounds like a shell game. How could that actually be of service to me? I think it's human nature to throw complexity at our struggles when actually simplicity is the solution, but we overlook simplicity. So that's one common problem.
Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. I help small business owners understand their financial numbers so they can make better decisions. We learn about money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo jumbo. I have an MBA, but they never taught me how to create profits in business. I had to learn that for myself. And the reality is, most small business owners struggle with this. It's not your fault. We're not taught about money in school. I utilize the Profit First system by Mike Michalowicz, and I am certified to help business owners implement the system in their business. Today's show is an edited rebroadcast of my interview with the author of Profit First, Mike Michalowicz. We discuss how the system works and how you can increase profitability in your business. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man Show, Mike Michalowicz.
Rocky, it is a joy to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, and I'm excited because literally my life is all implementing the systems that I have learned from you. So it's a joy to talk to you and kind of dig deeper and let the audience get a chance to meet you as well.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you, Rocky, for having me as part of your journey, you know, and even in a small way. I mean, maybe I wrote some recipes, but you're the guy cooking it up. I just appreciate you using some of the recipes I wrote.
Well, and it makes my life so much easier. And that was a decision point for me. Do I create my own recipes or do I just use yours, which would be so much easier rather than me trying to figure it all out and say, you know, we're very much in alignment in principles.
Yeah.
And so I could just go do it. But then I was like, but he's got all the recipes to make it easy and get rid of all the friction in this. And then I can start running. So it worked out well.
You know, it's funny. I was talking a long time ago with Simon Sinek, fabled author. You know, he wrote Start With Why. He shared. He goes, Mike. You know, you can have either a product or a platform, but trying to achieve both is really difficult. And so he talked about, you know, Amazon is a platform for distribution, but they sell predominantly other people's products. They've become such a juggernaut now. They make their own products, but predominantly other people's products. And people who are making those products, they could make their own Amazon platform, but that's really a daunting task. So it's the combination of the product itself, but then the delivery of that product is often two entities. And so it sounds like kind of that's how you and I have partnered up here. I've created a product that you could create, but you already have mastered the delivery component, which I haven't. So it becomes kind of a very symbiotic relationship.
That it is. Mike, can you share the story of your struggles and the turning point that you came to in your life that caused you to rethink the way you were doing business?
My burning experience was when I was in my early 30s. I had built and sold two companies. They were both multi-million-dollar businesses. I didn't realize until reflection how fortunate my timing was. Luck was definitely a player in this, but I thought it was exclusively my great drive and intelligence that drove all my success. So I started a third business that was a calamity as an angel investor, but I had no right to be in that space. And I evaporated all my wealth. I lost everything. And I lost my house over that. I lost everything. The only thing I didn't lose was my family. And that became an awakening period for me. It was such a painful experience to lose everything that I came to realize I really didn't have an understanding for how finances worked, or actually in this case, any other elements of entrepreneurship. I thought I knew everything. It was a cause and effect. I said, well, listen, I started a business. I worked my butt off and look at all this money I made. Clearly, starting a business and working your butt off makes money. No, you know, working hard alone isn't effective. We have to do the right things in the right sequence. Sometimes I was doing the right things at the wrong time. There was no benefit there. Other times I was doing the wrong things, but the right fortune came upon me and I thought I was a genius. So when I lost all that money, that was my awakening. And it really threw me for a loop. I actually went through depression for 2 years and started to drink and stuff. It's just like, it was not my identity at all. And not who I was, not who I am today. But I went through that period and I realized I need to get back to the basics of understanding entrepreneurship. In fact, that's what triggered me to become an author. I wanted to write down, to study and understand what made a successful entrepreneur and to deconstruct it and reconstruct it in a very simplified form. And from that, every book I've written has been based upon that desire to really understand entrepreneurship for myself and in the process, hopefully be of service to my readers.
And I see that a lot with entrepreneurs. It seems like everyone is on this treadmill of generate revenue, generate revenue, generate revenue, but nobody's actually looking at systems in their business. They get tied up in the business that they in the business are, they're just like on this treadmill. They can't get out. They're stuck. Yeah. So they're working hard. On top of that, they're not looking at the bottom line. It's always top line. Grow, grow, grow.
I know.
It'll all work out. And we see that, and I keep calling out Uber and WeWork and all these companies because one day, someone's going to come a-calling and you've got to be profitable. And yet, for whatever reason, society's got these weird things where they don't look at what is truly important.
Well, and I think I know why. I think I know why we do that. And that is the exact behavior. There's this growth mentality. And I think there's a few drivers behind that. But the first thing I teach people, and I want them to be aware of, is that sales directly correlates to stress. And what I mean by this is every time you have a sale for your organization, you have a responsibility now to deliver on whatever you sold, that product or service. That's stress on your organization. And as a small business owner that's so ingrained in the business, that's stress on us. And so as sales increase and we concentrate our efforts on that, we make more and more money, we actually feel more and more reticent about the business. We because there's more burden put upon us and we're making no more money, in some cases less. So we actually have a resentment toward our business as we sell more. So that's part of the reason is that we have this compulsion to sell more because we think it's going to it's going to give us more money. But there's a big difference between making money and taking money. The other thing is sales is actually an immediate feedback loop. So if I call a prospect today, I'm going to immediately find out if there's interest or not. And then I can pick up the phone to make the next sale. Or if I get a sale, I can high five myself and continue on. So there's an immediate feedback loop. Profit, the retention of cash, is a slower feedback loop. And humanity is just wired for that quick endorphin release. So sales, there's this immediate endorphin release, right? You get a benefit immediately. You call that prospect and they sign up and it's like, yeah, I feel great. And if they don't, at least you have an immediate feedback. It's not them that's going to buy. So you pick up the phone and call the next prospect. Profit is a lot more of a delayed benefit or delayed reward. And therefore, as human wiring, not to focus on that because it's a delayed benefit. It's like someone's a smoker. Even though everyone knows smoking will kill you, everyone knows that. You don't need to train anyone on that. Some people still smoke because you get the immediate feeling, that sensation of relaxation or endorphin release or whatever. And you're focused on the immediate, gain as opposed to the long-term consequence. The other thing is we are not neurologically wired into our businesses. So a lot of entrepreneurs say, I trust my gut. I use my gut, and I get it. But also our gut is not nearly as effective in our business lives as is in our personal lives. So personally, if I'm walking down a dark alley and I get this tingling sensation of danger, well, that's my eyes and my hearing and all my senses collaborating together and sending a signal through my nerves to trigger fear. And that is a call to action to turn around. Now, we're not neurologically wired into our business. So when things aren't working, our neural network doesn't say, "Oop, it's a profit problem." We just say things aren't working. It must be sales. We revert to our guttural instinct of going to sales. So I think we really need a system to pinpoint where the real challenge is in our business. And I'm kind of setting myself up here for a plug, so please forgive me. But that's my newest book. I believe this is such a prevalent problem that I wrote my newest book, which is called Fix This Next. Fix This Next is designed to pinpoint what to work on. Because I believe, and this is the thesis of the book, the biggest challenge entrepreneurs have is knowing what their biggest challenge is.
How do they not know what their biggest challenge is?
Because we don't know the hierarchy of needs our business has. Like, let me rewind to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's the human hierarchy of needs. And Maslow was studying this and said that basically at any given time, humanity needs to have base level needs fully satisfied before we can address higher level needs. The base level needs he identified are what's called physiological needs. Breathing in air, we need oxygen, right? Food, water. Above that, he said we have the safety needs, like safety from harm, safety from the inclement weather, safety from financial stress. Then above that, he has belonging, which means to experience love and compassion for others, to belong to a community. Then he has esteem and self-actualization. Self-actualization is living into your life's purpose. And you and Rocky, right now, you and I can be talking philosophical stuff. For me, this is actually a self-actualization conversation. I so emphatically believe in the eradication of entrepreneurial poverty and that my life's mission is to do that. High-level conversation. If I'm eating a hamburger right now while we're talking, I start choking on a hamburger, all of a sudden my body will neurologically respond by trying to expel that hunk of meat out of my throat. It's a physiological need. So I'll revert right to the base of Maslow's hierarchy. And our conversation is no longer relevant or important. I have to dislodge this. Only once I'm breathing comfortably again can I elevate up. So Maslow said basically, if a base level need is not being satisfied, you must address it. But once it is, then we climb and aspire to other level needs. Well, I translated this into business, and there's a 5-level structure or 5-level hierarchy, I call it the business hierarchy of needs, that businesses have. And the base foundationally is sales. Sales is the creation of cash. And without it, your business can't exist. So you need to have some kind of recurring form of cash. But the next level immediately above it is profit. And profit is the creation of sustainability. Profit allows a business to stay around. Cash allows, sales allow cash to appear, but it's the retention of cash that brings about sustainability. And since we're not neurologically wired into our business, if we are experiencing a threat of cash, we're short on cash, on Maslow's equivalent, this would be someone having a gun to your head, a safety need. We in our business are reverting to a base level need. We're saying, well, I'm not making profit, therefore I need to sell more. That's like saying someone has a gun to my head. I'm going to start breathing deeply to defend myself. I mean, that's crazy. What would happen neurologically is you try to block the gun, away from you, or you would plead for your life. You take actions to not experience harm. Yet, because we're not wired into our business, we take an action like gasping for air when someone has a gun to our head. It will never save us or serve us. So we just need this compass. And that's what the Fix This Next process is. It's a process to identify where your business's current most vital need is so you can address it and continue to climb up the hierarchy.
And that makes a lot of sense. And unfortunately, I think, and this was a major aha for me, because I was doing all this work in the personal finance space. I had gone down and gotten trained by Dave Ramsey's group, and I was dealing with people. And then I got this aha of, I think it was because someone was in your program, read your book, and said to me, business owners have the same problem. 80% of them don't even look at their numbers and have a clue what's going on. 15% of them have somewhat of an idea, but there's only 5% of them who truly know what's going on and are focused on them. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. How is it that we have business owners who don't even understand the basics of their financials and their business? Because as you said, it is a base need. And if you can't meet your base needs, you're never, ever going to survive as a business.
Never. Yeah. So, and so many of us get caught up in what's called the cash flow game. Remember, sales is the creation of cash. And so what we do is we're not profitable. So we try to sell more thinking that'll resolve cash. And it doesn't. But what it does is it can support temporary cash flow. So some more money flows in. Well, now you can pay off some of your credit cards temporarily until those expenses occur 60 days later or whatever. And then you got to ramp up the credit cards again. And we get caught in this cash flow game. So we're actually putting more and more burden over time, more and more debt on our business just by trying to sell our way out of it. The other thing I've observed about humanity, and I'm painting myself a picture of myself right now, because this is what I did forever, is I find that I behave a certain way. And for me to change how I behave is very hard. So what I consider now is, what can I do to intercept and leverage an existing behavior? Here's an example. It's important, I believe, for me to exercise with regularity. Well, I do, but it doesn't mean I necessarily like to exercise. So when I wake up in the morning, it's not like, okay, can't wait to work out. It's a necessity. But how do I make myself do it? Because there's a million reasons just to hit the buzzer or hit the alarm and sleep in a little bit more. What I do is I put my sneakers in the bathroom, but particularly on the toilet seat. Because when I wake up, I go in the bathroom, I use the toilet, and now I can't use the toilet without having to grab my sneakers. But once my sneakers are in my hand, it's like, oh, sneakers are in hand. I made the first small step. Now let me put my sneakers on, and that's the next step. And then I'm out the door going for a run or going to the weight room or whatever. Well, for profit, this is what I've devised for businesses through Profit First, is I realized the majority of business owners, particularly small business owners, don't do the accounting, to your point, Rocky. We don't go to our QuickBooks or whatever the system is and tie in the income statement to the balance sheet and cash flow and really analyze it. What most of us do, and what I have done and continue to do, is I log into my bank account and I follow a real simple system. I call it bank balance accounting. If I have money, I'll spend it. And if I don't, panic ensues trying to figure out how to get money in. Well, since I realized that I'm running or looking at my bank accounts to determine how much money is available to make purchases, I need a system that sits there and controls that flow of money. So Profit First is a system that resides within your bank accounts because that's where we naturally go, pre-allocates money to its intended use before we spend it. So now we have some control over how we utilize our money. And now we manage our money much more positively. We allocate money to our profit. So we start achieving profit without the necessity to change our habits and behaviors, which is super hard to do.
And it works. I do a lot of entertaining, and I have learned that if you want your food to last, use smaller plates. So if I give my guests smaller plates, they take smaller portions and the food makes it. And then if they're still hungry, they go back and they get more. It's not a problem. If you give a large plate, they fill up the large plate and half of it ends up in the garbage because it's just wasted. They took it because they felt excited in the moment. And so it is very much of a psychological human kind of need. And it's the reason I've built wealth. Literally from the day I got my first paycheck, I essentially set up all of these automated savings accounts, just using a variety of different ways. And so before I even started seeing money in the beginning of my career, all my money was immediately being shuffled off. And over time, it compounds. And so that has allowed me to have financial success. So the principles work, and they're not just specific to your business. They work in every part of life because it's a true natural law, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. I even use this in my personal finance. My family, we went to Disney. My wife and daughter have a particular penchant for Disney, and I'll go along for the ride. I think it's a pretty fascinating place, and it's a great business study. Next time you go to a Disney, just go down one of their lines at one of their cafeterias or workplace to eat. Look at the size of the serving trays. The trays that you put your plates on when you self-serve, they are bigger than normal trays. They're bigger than the ones you'd see at a traditional cafeteria. Fits more space in. They sequence the way things are presented. The dessert will present first because they know if you're in a hunger state, your willpower is at a weakened state, you're more likely to take up a dessert. So dessert will always be presented before the meal. The last thing they'll serve typically is the liquid, water, soda, whatever it is, because we will almost always get a liquid with our meal. So that's the give me sale. So put that at the end as the tack on and get the dessert on the plate first. Make the tray as big as possible. So when you put the dessert down, it's like, oh, I didn't take that much. I have enough room for what I want to eat, and I'm happy I'm eating a small dessert. So there's a lot of behavioral mechanisms at play. And I'm not just picking on Disney. This is true with all businesses. And they can be leveraged against us, but we ourselves can use it to kind of win the war and drive the goals we have, in this case, profit.
And that's very true. I'm a big fan of Disney. I'm a big stockholder, so that's why I'm a fan, because they make lots of money. And
they make a lot of money.
I do well with that stock, but they are a well-run company. I mean, they think of everything down to a science. They take feedback from their employees, and they actually elicit it. I've been through some of the Disney leadership things, and they said,
"Oh, cool.
We've got a problem," right? They said, people come into our park in the morning, they're here all day, and then they forget where they park. How do we, they've got, 50,000 cars in their parking lot. How do we find these people's cars?
Mm.
So they went back to their employees and they said, this is our problem. The employees said, okay, we're going to put the cars in certain places at certain times and we're going to write it down. So that when somebody says, I came in this morning, I can't find my car, you'll just ask them, well, what time did you get here? We got here about 10:15. 10:15, this is where we were parking cars. Let's go there.
So smart. I didn't know that. I love it.
But so they go down to such a level of detail as you talk about, even waiting in line in a ride. I mean, they have long lines. Yeah. They make that experience such that you are not anxious, that you are having fun, and that you are okay waiting in that line, because there are things along the way that they do to such great detail to entertain you and to make sure that you have an amazing experience. And for what they charge, they should.
They should. They should. Oh, you can tell me about it. I did the Haunted Mansion with my kids, I think 20 times the same day. And it was entertaining, waiting to go in every single time. So yeah, there's a lot to be learned there. I think one great takeaway that you shared, and I studied this and wrote about it in Clockwork, is that ultimately when a business faces a problem, the people in the best position to present resolutions are the people that are facing the problem or serving the problem, the front line. So, traditional management theory, and this is not my theory. I like to learn from others and then compile it in a very digestible format. But this is kind of leans against lean principles, something that was brought about in the 50s. And the idea was that when a problem occurs, the person that's closest to it will be the most into that problem and best to solve it. Toyota, the manufacturer in Japan of automobiles, used this guy. His last name was Deming. He's the father of lean. And as opposed to American car manufacturers at the time, when there was a problem on the line, a worker would stop the line, the management would run over, and the management would start talking about what we need to fix and how we address this as the whole line would wait. In Japan, if there was a problem, the worker would stop the line, the management would run over, but they'd run to the worker and say, what do we need to do for you? The worker would be empowered and directed to solve the problem. And the management's job was to be of service to the employee to satisfy whatever they directed. So the director of the resolution becomes the employee in the lean process. And in the old process that was still being used in the US, the management team that was not intimate with the problem was the one trying to generate the solution, therefore generating inadequate solutions. So there's definitely something we as small businesses need to employ there, is even if you have a business of one virtual assistant, you're that small that you have just one part-time assistant. Well, that part-time assistant should be consulted with whenever the problems that arise are the problems that she or he are working on. They potentially know the most answers and resolutions.
It's fun. I spent most of my life in corporate America, and without exception, it was the exact opposite. And they have all the answers. Shut up and do what you're told. And it just creates a horrible situation. And that's why I think a lot of people don't enjoy work, is because they don't have they sit there and they go, I can fix all these problems if you'll just get out of the way or provide me these 3 resources. But instead we get stuck in this type of a situation. And I think that comes back, and we've spent time talking on the podcast about creating the right culture. Creating a culture where your people are empowered to do the job and they're in charge and they have the freedom to make those kinds of choices.
Yes. We just returned from a annual or maybe semi-annual retreat, and it was our planning for the 2020. So we met, I think it was the 2nd of January, went into the Poconos. We're based out of New Jersey, so went to Pennsylvania just to get out of sight, out of mind of work, but to concentrate on work. And the president of our company, her name is Kelsey. This is the Mike. So I have multiple businesses. So I know you're very familiar with Profit First Professionals. We also have the Mike Michalowicz brand. That's my books and speaking stuff. And small business, there's 6 of us, but Kelsey's our leader. And Kelsey led us through this exercise. And she wanted to get real clear on what we all individually aspire to experience in our lives in the near future, the next year, but also in the next 5 and 10 years. And she said her job as leader of her company is to align the corporate goals, which are really the goals of the shareholder, which is me. I own the business, with achieving all the goals of the individual people. If I come out beating drums saying we're going to do $10 million of revenue this year, I'm the guy who gets a new car, but everyone else big deal. I had a goal. But if Amy, one of our employees, has extreme flexibility in her work, she likes to be home. Her husband travels a lot, so home when he's home, if she's at extreme flexibility, her vision, her goal is coming true. Jenna and her husband want to buy a new house. If they're working toward that, her dream's coming true. So Kelsey aligned everyone's vision collectively, and now the team is so empowered because we see all the big picture. This isn't about one vision, one person. This is about our collective goals.
And you actually know who's working for you and their people, and you know their goals, dreams, and desires. And when you help people to achieve those, they help you to achieve yours. I mean, it's a simple standard principle, and yet business struggles with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true.
So I just out of curiosity, you've probably heard a ton of profit first success stories. What's probably the biggest or most inspiring one that you've heard?
I hear them probably, this is going to sound crazy, but probably at least one or two an hour now. So I get emails around profit first, and we averaged it out every 15 minutes on average. An email comes in from someone that's discovered profit first or is committed to it. And the reason so many come in is, I think I'm blessed that the popularity of the book, I know I'm blessed with that, but also I encourage readers to reach out to me. I ask them to, because I want to see what's going on. And of those, every day there's a story or two about these magnificent successes. And the one that stands out, but I got to start sharing other ones because this is becoming my go-to one, but it was just so remarkable, was the baseball team. They sent me a physical printed letter. This is about 4 years ago, the business owner, the baseball team owner, and said they implemented profit first. Now, of course, this was not a major league team. It was an all-star minors team.
Savannah Bananas, right?
Yeah,
he's in my mastermind.
Oh, Jesse is?
Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome.
He is.
They are the most profitable baseball team in all the minor leagues and all-star leagues. And on a percentage basis, they beat the major leagues. Some of the major leagues, they're more profitable percentage-wise. Of course, they don't do the same revenue. And Jesse said he discovered profit first. And Jesse is an extremely, extremely innovative, high-energy, charismatic entrepreneur. I think profit first simply served as a guideline of how he could channel that energy and how he couldn't. And by taking the profit first, they have not compromised one thing about the Savannah Bananas experience. In fact, by taking their profit first, they've enhanced the baseball experience. Instead of spending money on entertainers, they realize they have to build the entertainment from within. So their own baseball players don't just throw baseballs around. They're line dancers. They have the Savannah Banana Grandmas, right? The dance team is a choreographed, you have to be 80 or older or something to get on the dance team, but they're volunteers. And now this is a dream for these people to get in front of this fan base that goes, and there's I've been to now multiple games, almost 5,000 people in these stands. Their competitors attract maybe 300 if they're lucky. 5,000 people going screaming mad over the Savannah Banana Grandma dance team. So Jesse and the Savannah Bananas have been able to leverage profit first in such a fascinating way to really foster even more innovation. It's probably one of my favorite stories of all time.
And I've heard that one, and that is an awesome. And he is a charismatic guy. I mean, he dresses in all yellow. He's a little crazy.
yeah, he's crazy. And yeah. And actually, I'm studying this concept of the crazy ones. And crazy is a powerful force because you get noticed. And that's not all of it, but that's a big part of the battle is, do people even take the time to notice you? And the only way you're ever going to get noticed is not by being different than the competition. It's by being better.
And so I'm reading Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets, and he talks about that. He says you have to be a little bit crazy, a little bit out of the mainstream, but not too far. You can't go so far that they don't follow you. You need to be just enough different and just enough of a something new that will attract that kind of a crowd. And you create your own market then, right? Because he's not selling minor league baseball. He's selling an experience.
Yep. The question is, does it reel them in or does it repulse them out? And as I'm researching this and I'm compiling it for a book I'll write probably in 2021, 2022, what I'm realizing is different gets noticed, but you can be different in a repulsive way. And I'm not saying necessarily repulsive equals grotesque, but in a way that repels people. And so, I could be a really unique and different attorney who, dresses in a bozo costume when I come into court. Every juror is going to notice that. But what I'm saying, this guy's innocent, waka waka, the jury's going to be like, this guy's crazy, the clown. They're not going to put value in me. They're going to be repulsed by me. So I have a responsibility to be different in a way that attracts and compels my prospects, my clients, the people I want to attract to want to be with me and do business with.
So I'll give you two people to research, Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh, because they walk both sides of that line. As much as people hate them, they come back to just see what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
And so they've got their lovers and their haters, but yet their haters come along.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. So I know Howard Stern, not because I love his stuff. Actually, I don't listen to it. It just doesn't resonate with me. I don't have anything for him. I don't have anything against him. But I'm very well aware of him. And the reason is because he's built that exact audience where there are the lovers and the haters. When you can polarize an audience, both sides win. The people that love you now have to defend you. So they have a call to action, a purpose. So the people are like, Howard Stern is a shock jock and he's grotesque and so forth. The people that love him are like, he speaks to me, you don't get it. And it empowers them. They have something to defend. So that's a very empowering thing. Conversely, the side that's on the attack saying how horrible Howard Stern is also benefiting because they have to prove they're right. They don't just say, Howard Stern's horrible and then they're done. The other side says, no, you don't get it. And they're like, what? We totally get it. You're the ones who are blind to it. So now you have both sides engaged. So it's important for a successful brand to polarize a community. Not intentionally. You don't want to intentionally upset and hurt people. But what you want to do is intentionally empower a specific community, which will, as a side effect, will repulse others. And then once you have that happening, now you have an empowered community on both sides, and your brand's going to grow.
And that it is. It reminds me of a story of it's a historical business story back in the days when we had neighborhood hardware stores. And there were these two hardware stores next door to each other. And they would literally fight against each other. The two hardware stores would constantly be at odds against each other. And within the town, everyone went to one or they went to the other. And you were known by which hardware store you went to. And this went on for decades. And eventually, Home Depot or whatever came in and the guys got old and they retired. And after they died, because they used to live in the back of the hardware store, we used to live in our businesses. After they died and the buildings went up for sale, they discovered a secret. The two apartments behind the hardware store were connected. They were brothers.
Oh, my God.
And so they literally played the entire community for decades. They created that tension to cause the fighting to get both of them to get more business.
I heard a parallel story. It may be mythology, but supposedly there was a bridal shop that had three other competitors all on this street corner. So each corner of the four corners had its own bridal shop, and customers and they all had a reputation for something else. One had excellent service. One had the best quality items. One was the cheapo kind of warehouse type place. And people would go in, and if they ever got frustrated, those customers would storm out and say, I'm going to get a better deal at, and they'd point across the street to one of the other three. And the store manager would say, oh, I'm sorry we lost your business. Well, they owned, as you can already tell, they owned all four of the locations. And that is actually a growth strategy, is all customers don't buy from a singular source. Everyone knows Walmart, but does everyone shop at Walmart? Probably not. There's probably some people say, I'm not going to be a Walmart shopper. I'm going to go somewhere else. There's different types of consumer bases. So one consideration, but I would not suggest this as an early stage business, only as we grow and become more sophisticated, is to start offering competitive, basically product lines. But do this by starting your own next new business to compete with your first business.
That's essentially the story of Netflix, right? In a sense, they kind of reinvented themselves over and over.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that Blockbuster at one point was a big facilitator of that. I would argue that Redbox became a facilitator of that. Now I believe the online channels like Prime is the next major facilitator. What I'm so impressed by Netflix is they've iterated so quickly in probably one of the most fast advancing technologies in the consumables space, which is video content. And if you rewind merely 30 years ago, it was Main Street video stores, like the VHS tapes or Beta, whatever was popular then. The stores were renting them out, and then along comes Blockbuster that changed the game to be this kind of singular entity that can offer all the movies, and you don't have to ping pong around different little movie shops trying to find the movie you want. That was the impetus for Netflix, and then they did their mailing deliverables, and then that moved and shifted to on demand, which now has shifted to their own content generation. What impresses me so much about Netflix is every time a competitor has raised its hand with the next new offering, Netflix has responded by, to your point, Rocky, by eradicating what they've done prior and inventing something new. They keep on iterating through new invention.
And Blockbuster was offered the opportunity to buy Netflix. And Blockbuster said, no, we make too much money in late fees
we want to
get involved in that.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's funny.
You have to constantly iterate, and you can't rely on the past. You always have to take that next step forward because the world is changing faster and faster.
That's right.
So as awesome as Profit First is, I'm sure that there are struggles. Where do you see most business owners struggle with Profit First?
Yeah. So the first thing is the philosophy. People see Profit First and they think it's too simple to be true. Like, how could something so easy by just carving up money at a bank account and moving to different accounts, sounds like a shell game. How could that actually be of service to me? I think it's human nature to throw complexity at our struggles when actually simplicity is the solution, but we overlook simplicity. So that's one common problem. Another challenge I see regularly, we have over 300,000 companies now successfully implement Profit First. So it's established. And so we've seen so many different flavors of success, but so many different flavors of failure with the system. The second most common thing I see is kind of the all-in approach. People decide to implement Profit First, and they say, you know what, we've never been profitable before, but now using the system, we want to have a 20% profit. We're going to make sure that all the owners are paid these really good salaries. And the business goes from a struggling business, and overnight they try to convert it to this extremely, cash fluid business. And the business needs time to adjust. So that abrupt change can harm a business. And then they say, well, Profit First doesn't work. And they abandon the system. And then probably, so I'll give you the top three resistant points. Top three are the experts. The accountants or the bookkeepers say, you can't do Profit First. That makes no sense. I've never done that. Just do the accounting. And what's happening there is, in many cases, these accountants, bookkeepers, and even coaches aren't familiar with the system. They've been steeped and trained in the traditional way of doing accounting. They don't realize Profit First isn't an accounting system; it's a cash management system, and are not willing to experiment or understand how the system works. The funny thing is, to our earlier discussion, the Profit First concept based upon the envelope system has existed longer than modern accounting, which has only been around for 300 years. So this is a more established system, but it gets rejected because the expert you rely on, the professional, doesn't have any experience there. And the word of caution is, just because they don't have experience with it doesn't mean it doesn't work. One thing, when acid test simply ask that accountant of yours saying, well, if I'm not going to do Profit First to drive profit, tell me of your existing clients, what percentage of your clients are posting a quarterly profit distribution? Part of Profit First ensures that happens. I strongly suspect the accountant will say, well, none. I bet you almost none of their clients, less than 1%, are achieving that. And then the argument is, well, why do I have to do a system that doesn't yield profit? Why can't I try something new? So you can give a little pushback. They're there to serve you. Those accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches are there to serve you. And part of that serving is to learn and develop and support new systems that support you, the client.
It's funny. I talk to bankers a lot about it. And their comment to me is, oh, you make people bankable, meaning that, they've got cash flow and they're actually making money and you can see the money being made. And I'm like, yeah, I make them bankable. But then I take them to the next point where they don't even need to be bankable because they're so profitable. They don't need you anymore. That doesn't go over so well. So I have to learn to fix that messaging. But yeah, there are so many so-called experts, and they're experts for a reason because they want you to feel like you're not an expert, that they know it all. And you just have to be careful because that's just human nature. They spent their whole life becoming an expert, getting degrees. They're going to put up that wall and say, you have to listen to us because we're the expert. And sometimes you just have to stand up and go, no, I'm going a different way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Even though I do so much writing and so forth, I don't like to be called an expert. I hate the word guru. I simply have a perspective that other people don't have. But at the same time, they have a perspective that I don't have. I found out that, the human journey, we're all on a big journey here, and we all have perspectives. The goal is for a collaborative here. We all should be compelled to share. We all should learn. And then the learning comes out of what I call common threads. When I see something that resonates with me in one place, I will seek it out again elsewhere. And once I hear that message 3 or 4 times and it lands with me every time, and it makes sense to me every time, then I know this is something I need to pursue and do. It's not just trusting the words of one single person alone.
Well, just look at what's successful. If you see success, follow success, right? Hey, all these people implemented profit first and they're profitable. All these people are with my accountant and they never take a profit distribution. Wonder which way I want to go. Exactly. So I have a question because I'm not sure of this. For the business owners who just buy the book, read the book, and implement, do you find that they get lazy in the sense that even though they pull their profit out and they make sure that they're getting paid, when they look at their bank account like they normally do, they're still not looking at their financial reports. They're just looking at their bank account. And the system helps them because it gives them a smaller plate. But are they still sloppy with that smaller plate when they don't have help that says, hey, that plate's sloppy. Did you know you did this, this, and this?
Yes and no. I equate it to gym membership. There are a faction of people that join a gym and they go and they research the exercises and they do it properly and they stick with it and they don't need any outside help. That is actually the minority of people, right? So the majority of people sign for the gym and then, right in the new year, and then they go once, they injure themselves or they get sore and they say, I'm never going again until next year when they're frustrated again. Others will work in a collaborative with, I'll train with someone else. I'll go to the gym and say, hey, I want to stay on track here. My buddy, why don't you also go to the gym? Let's go together and we'll support each other. And that can be effective until it becomes a collusion. Like, one day it's raining out. I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. And I call my friend. He's like, I don't want to go either. He's like, why don't we go get some donuts at Dunkin' Donuts? I'm like, yeah, let's get some donuts. And now we're colluding on a really negative outcome, right? The ultimate for gyms, and I found this to be for profit first too, is the trainer. There's some people that sign for a gym and say, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. I want to make sure I'm not injuring myself, but I'm growing the muscle or tone or whatever I want to achieve, losing weight. And I have a professional that's done this for hundreds, if not thousands of other people guiding me. Oh, and they're the ultimate accountability partner because I'm paying them for their service. They're not going to miss a single thing, snowing or not. And when I call them up and say, let's grab a donut, they're going to swat it out of my hand and say, back to the gym. That's what I want. Well, when profit first is the same 3 ways it's being executed. Some people try to execute on their own. The vast minority do it effectively because they have the discipline, but the majority start and they stop because it was too hard. The business got sore, if you will, and they give up on it. That's a real shame. Another portion will try to work with other entrepreneurs. It's definitely an elevated way of doing it because now there's some cross accountability. The likelihood of success when doing it with another entrepreneur is greater. But the the most successful outcomes we see consistently are the entrepreneurs that are hiring a profit first professional, a trainer. Because the profit first professional, like the trainer, has done this for dozens, hundreds, maybe even 1,000 other through our community. It's been hundreds of thousands through the profit first community of clients. So we know what works and what doesn't work. And so these entrepreneurs are hiring profit first professionals for that discipline of doing the right things the right way with profit first and being held accountable. And so those stories consistently are our best success stories.
And I went through a weight loss journey where I lost a bunch of weight probably 7-8 years ago, and I've kept it off. And throughout that process, I had accountability partners. I had trainers. I had people who designed my system for the trainers to implement because they wanted to make sure they were doing the right things. I had a dietitian. I had an entire team around me to ensure my success. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons, because they would take me when I struggled and I had friction. They would be like, okay, just make this change. I wouldn't have to think about it. I didn't have to think about what exercises I had to do. I didn't have to think of, I showed up. They told me what to do. I followed the systems. When things didn't work, it wasn't my problem. It was their problem. You fix it. You're there. And I'm 54 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life. It's phenomenal. And I couldn't do that without help. And I do that in other parts of my life too. I get help to help me become better.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Mike, for joining us. Great conversation today.
Rocky, thank you.
I enjoyed the conversation with Mike. The Profit First system works. It's proven. It's not that hard, but as we discussed, people need accountability and help. As a certified Profit First professional, that's what I do, and so much more. If you have a question about implementing Profit First or improving cash flow in your business and increasing profitability, please ask. Directly email me at questions@profitanswerman.com or go to the Profit Answer Man Facebook group and post them there. I'll answer many of those questions on the show and also directly respond back to you. We also can make your questions anonymous if you prefer. If you'd like to receive the first 2 chapters of Profit First for free or to chat with me, go to profitanswerman.com and you'll see all the links. In the next few episodes, I'm going to go through each chapter of the Profit First book and share my insights. Have a profitable week. Thanks for listening.